I've been playing guitar for more than 40 years, but I recently, at age 70, decided to start taking lessons again. Not because I had to, but because I realized I was in a rut. I was playing the same things over and over, and it just didn't feel like I was making any progress. In this video, I'll show you how going back to lessons completely reignited my love for guitar, what it taught me about real progress when your hands aren't 20 anymore, and why getting stuck could actually be the most important phase in your playing. Ever feel like you're practicing but still just spinning your wheels? Even after decades of playing and teaching, I hit that wall. I wasn't struggling because I didn't practice. I practiced a lot, but I kept practicing things that I already knew, songs that felt familiar, patterns that felt safe to me. Without realizing it, I locked myself into a kind of a groove that I just couldn't seem to break out of. I wanted to change, but there was a problem. Change meant discomfort. I couldn't quite get myself to make that leap until something simple happened. We were planning the next student recital at my music school, and the director turned and asked me, "Hey, do you want to perform this time?" I quickly said yes, assuming I just play something I already knew. But that idea kept bugging me, and it just wouldn't leave me alone. Did I really want to play something that just was safe? Finally, I decided to use the recital as an excuse to go after something I secretly wanted to work on but avoided for years. Improvisation. Playing something that I didn't practice note for note in front of people, well, that still seems pretty scary to me. But since I already said yes to the recital, I decided to go ahead and go for it. I started taking lessons with an excellent instructor. The first lesson, humbling doesn't begin to cover it. I felt like my fingers and my brain were meeting for the first time. But after that lesson, it hit me. I wasn't going backwards. I was actually just giving myself a space to grow. And it's not easy, especially as we get older. There's this little voice that I keep hearing in my mind. You should already know this. Don't embarrass yourself. But at the same time, every time I've made progress in any area of my life, it started the same way. First, feeling discomfort, then kind of uncertainty, and finally, little by little, I found this kind of willingness inside me to just feel awkward and go with it. If you've ever wondered if you're too old to progress, what I learned here can open up a whole new chapter for you. The big takeaway for me is this: progressing does require a willingness to feel incompetent, but it gets better. Little by little, what starts out messy turns into kind of a new level of normal. And the confidence that you experience from getting better and better over time, it's incredibly rewarding. As valuable as this lesson was, simply being willing to feel uncomfortable wasn't enough. I kept showing up, feeling awkward, but I still wasn't making the progress I hoped for. That's when I discovered the change that made my practice time feel 100 times more productive. There's nothing more frustrating than putting in the hours of practice and not seeing any results. I used to think the answer was push harder, practice longer, repeat the same thing over and over until I finally got it. But more isn't always better. Returning to lessons, I realized it wasn't what I was practicing, it was how. My teacher had me slow things down, way down. We'd chop a song into tiny little pieces, sometimes just one tricky bar at a time. It almost felt silly. We'd set a timer for 5 minutes and focus only on that little bit. When the timer rang, I'd stop, no matter what, and move on. This one transition kept tripping me up. It was just 2 measures. 5 minutes daily on that spot. Day 1, clumsy. Day 3, still rough. Day 7, my hands just knew it. That built something better than speed, confidence. At first, this whole process felt awkward. My brain kept saying, you should be further along. Some days, it felt like nothing was happening. I'd put in the work, walk away, and wonder if I was getting anywhere. But progress doesn't always show up right away. It reminds me of when I was a kid. I loved to plant a garden in the backyard. I'd dig up all the weeds in a plot of ground, and I'd make these little rows and plants of seeds. Then I'd water it every day and wait for what seemed like an eternity. Even though nothing was happening, I know now that underneath the surface the roots were growing. Then one day, little green shoots would suddenly pop up through the soil, and my faith in the universe was restored. Trying to cram everything into marathon sessions just doesn't work. What actually made the difference was showing up consistently, working in little short bursts, and letting my hands and mind catch up. Sometimes the best thing you could do is take a break, walk away, sleep on it. That's not being lazy. That's how the brain learns best. When I started practicing this way regularly, I could feel the difference. Less stress, more trust in myself. I stopped worrying about being too late or not good enough because steady, patient progress still is progress, no matter when you start. If you'd like to experience this for yourself, try this. Set a timer for 5 minutes. I use my phone, but you can use any timer that works for you. Choose one small part that's giving you trouble and focus only on that. Slow down, be patient. Resist the urge to rush through it. When your timer goes off, stop, even if it feels unfinished. Step away, do something else, and come back at it later. Keep doing this for at least a week, and you'll see the difference. You might not notice progress right away, but these small focus sessions really do add up. Over time, you'll realize not only are you improving in skill, but you'll remember much better what you worked on. Next, this final lesson was the most difficult for me to learn, but it also made the biggest impact on my progress and especially my enjoyment of playing guitar. The reason this was probably the hardest for me to deal with is because it's something that snuck up on me over many years. I'm talking about a kind of pressure in the back of my mind every time I pick up the guitar. It was like an invisible weight on my shoulders, pushing me to play faster, cleaner, more impressively. It almost felt like I was auditioning for someone, even though there was no one in the room. The more I tried to prove myself, the tighter everything felt. My hands would tense up, my shoulders would creep up to my ears, and playing started to feel more like a test than something I loved. The worst part is I'd been doing it for so long, it just felt normal. It wasn't until my teacher pointed it out that I realized how much that pressure was holding me back. Once he stopped me mid-phrase, said, "Your shoulders." I hadn't even noticed that I was practically touching my ears. Try again. This time, breathe. Sounds simple, but almost too simple. But when I did it, actually, everything became easier. And what I kind of unexpectedly found out is this whole relaxing thing is really something that can be learned. It's a skill that takes practice. It's a habit that you build. Kind of like tuning your guitar before you go out and play. Relaxing while playing is not just about hands, it's a whole mindset. And the more I focused on easing up, the more my music just started to flow. I had this whole mantra, relax, relax, when I felt myself tightening. My notes began to have space and breathe. Suddenly I wasn't racing to impress anyone. I was just expressing what I wanted to say, and even if it was just 1 or 2 notes played with care, it felt good. Ultimately, this had the biggest impact because it turned into a lesson on letting go of comparing myself to others. I let go of that urge to show off and stopped pushing to play faster. You see, as we get older, our bodies remind us that force has its limits, but awareness and enjoyment do not. What started out as kind of a scary adventure turned into loving to play my guitar again. You might be wondering how this whole lesson thing carried over into my playing at the school recital. Did everything go smooth as silk? Well, not quite. Most people think a recital is kind of like a test where you have to prove you're flawless. And I used to buy into that too. But when the big night arrived, I was nervous, but for once, I wasn't there to impress anyone. I'd accepted I wouldn't play perfectly. So as I played, every little mistake felt huge. I had to keep myself from wincing. And then something shifted. I was actually present. I could listen to the music as I played. And for the first time, I really enjoyed it. When it was over, I braced myself for some kind of negative comments about the notes I'd missed. But instead, several people told me how much they enjoyed the music. And then something I really didn't expect. A musician that I really admired came up and said, "Your improvisation has improved a lot, Thomas. Nice work." Man, that meant a lot to me, and it truly made my night. And that's when I realized it really was all worth it. I realized that progress isn't about perfection. It's about showing up and being willing to just feel awkward and noticing how far you've come. Returning to guitar lessons at 70 didn't turn back the clock, but it did something better. It made me feel more alive than ever. Getting older doesn't mean we stop growing. We just grow differently, with more patience and self-awareness, and hopefully a little more kindness to ourselves. I realized that getting stuck isn't a dead end, it's an invitation. An invitation to slow down, try something new, and let go of the need to prove yourself. In music and in life, there's no final curtain, only the next song to play. Growth doesn't have an age limit. So if you feel that pull to learn on the guitar or anywhere else, give yourself permission to start right where you are at any age. And if you want a place where progress is celebrated and every hand's welcome, my program, Real Guitar Success, this was built for you. We honor steady growth, we respect the hands and hearts that have seen a lot, and we support each other every step of the way. You're always welcome to join us. And no matter what you decide, keep going. Every new note you play is a victory. It's never too late to begin your next song.